Good morning, IB English 11 students. I'm going to go over the supervised writing if you missed the class on last Thursday. And this will go over what it is and how to be successful in it. Okay, so supervised writing, you will have 50 minutes of timed writing. It is handwritten, so you cannot use a computer at all. So your Chromebooks, your phones will be put away. However, you can use any hard copies of notes, so your dialectical notes are fine. You can print out any of the assignments that we've done, the journals. You can use the book, but everything must be a hard copy or printed out of some sort. You cannot use an electronic device. And this is in order to make sure that you get as much original thinking as possible. You will be given 4 prompts, and you will choose one of them, and then you will write on that prompt. And this grade, like a lot of things here in IB, is graded on effort because I can't grade the content. So the reason why we do it is this is to generate ideas for a possible eventual 1,200 to 1,500 word external assessment essay, which is a works and translation, is worth 25% of your IB diploma grade for the English portion. The reason why we do it now instead of, because you're not even going to be given the works and translation paper until second semester, is because all the ideas are fresh for Oedipus Rex, and so we do it right after the end of it. It also helps me to see where your knowledge is of the text and hopefully, where your original thinking is, to see what I need to do further to help individual students as well as the classes as a whole. So you'll be given a sheet that looks very similar to this. The only difference is you'll have prompts on the top of it. And this is how you are graded. So each of these are worth so many points, and we're going to go over individually this section right here when we talk about knowledge and understanding, appreciation, writer's choices, organization, development, and language. Please be familiar with this because some of these are very easy to deduct points. So make sure that you read it and understand what you're going to be graded on. So here are some sample prompts that are generic. So you can read over these and kind of see what type of prompts that you will have. For the assignment for this, you will go to here, and I just want you to write 2 possible prompts for Oedipus Rex. So what do you think would be possible prompts that I could use for Oedipus Rex? And just write them in here. And if you have this submitted by Sunday, I'll actually give you feedback, and that's Sunday early on, not Sunday night, so you can get an idea of what kind of prompts, if the ones you put here are good, not so good, and what they should look like. Okay, continuing on. So I'm going to talk about each one of the categories that I do grade you on that are specific to content. So knowledge and understanding. So you show knowledge by being able to talk about the book in a comfortable manner. So you're able to give specific examples. You're not retelling the story. Retelling the story is that you're good as a Wikipedia page, but you're able to discuss the work as if you had read it. Originality comes in, and that's the understanding portion of it, is if you can show some sort of original perceptive insight into the work, and that's where we get the whole originality piece that we were talking about on Tuesday. Next is appreciation of authors' choices. So, to what extent do you show appreciation? And this is how the author is writing, the form. So Oedipus Rex is a drama. Are you talking about that? Are you talking about the structure, that it's in scenes or episodes and odes and parados and so forth, as well as the technique and style? So are they using monologues? Are they using metaphors? So all of this, are you appreciating this in the work that you're going to be doing? Next is organization and development. Do I have any idea what you're saying because it's organized and persuasively written so I can kind of see what you've done, as well as integrating supporting examples into it. So just because you say something, unless you support it, it doesn't really mean much, and that's where the development comes into. The last category is language. So are you using academic language? Are you using the terminology, the literary device terminology? Are you being accurate with your grammar, your sentence structure, and so forth? So making sure that your register and your style are effective to what you're doing, and you're not going into more informal style, as well as not using the appropriate terminology for a literary work. So I want you to look at two examples. Here's an essay example, and then there is a brainstorm example. There are two ways that you can do a supervised writing. And you have an example or a copy made for you on the Google Classroom, so you can do this on Google Classroom. But I want you to look at both of these so you can kind of see how each of these does those four things. So they look both very different. One is more of a brainstorm and the other one is essay format. I suggest that you use the format that you are most comfortable with. So if you're most comfortable doing an essay, then write an essay. If you want to do a brainstorm, do a brainstorm. So let's look here at the essay portion of it. So let's look for knowledge and understanding. So if you read this, you can tell that the writer actually understands the work and has read it. So you get here, they talk about the character and how she feels about herself as well as society. So as you read through this, you can tell that the person understands the work. The person doesn't summarize the work at all in here, but you can definitely tell that she can pick out different parts of it and show some understanding of it. Now you can tell in here that that there is some insight into this just simply by, this is the thesis statement, and it is original, so that comes with the understanding, and it comes throughout here, and you can find different areas where the author of this is being perceptive and insightful. As you read this, the person uses organization and development because you can understand what the person is talking about, and then you see all of these examples in here integrated really well to support everything that the person is stating. Also, this paper is showing appreciation of author's choices because we see sometimes it's done directly, and let me find an example of that. Right here in this paragraph, Colin represents Katniss's life predominantly. So that is showing a direct appreciation. But there's also ways to indirectly appreciate author's choices. And when you are specifically talking about the character is created by the author. Therefore, when you're talking about the character, you're talking about the author's choices and how they chose to develop the character. So there are direct and indirect ways to show appreciation of author's choices. You can go through here and find examples of how the language here is specifically for academic. It doesn't use informal register. It uses appropriate vocabulary. It uses some of the terminology here. It has here protagonist. So you can find examples in here. So this meets all the criteria of knowledge and understanding, appreciation of author's choices, organization and development, and language choices. Now, if we go to the second example, which is a brainstorm, throughout this brainstorm, you can tell that this person actually understands literary work. They can pull out different parts of the work and tell you about it. Again, they're not retelling the story, but you can still understand and see that the person actually read the work. Understanding of it, again, goes back to the thesis statement, which is down here in the end, where it shows some originality. And you can also see that there is some insight because they come up with some ideas that not everybody would come up with, like the Roman names of the capital and then the more natural names of District 12. So you can see some originality throughout this because there's definitely ideas, especially like here talking about Theseus and the Minotaur. That's something that is not stated in the work, and that's something that's coming directly from the writer of this brainstorm. Going into appreciation of author's choices, if you look at the prompt, it's literal or figurative meaning of titles and or names. The entire thing is appreciation of author's choices because they talk about the title. They talk about Panem, which is the name of the capital. or excuse me, the country. They talk about all of the names here in the work. So all of these were given to either the places or the people or the book by the author, so you're appreciating it. And nowhere in here really does this person say Collins does this. It's implied because Collins created the title, she created the character's name, she created all this, so you're appreciating the choices of the author. So organization and development, it is organized, okay. You can follow exactly what the person is doing. The reason why the thesis is down here is because the person was thinking, and then finally got what their thesis statement's going to be. Your thesis statement can be at the beginning, it can be in the middle, it doesn't really matter where it is, just as long as it's somewhere in here. There are definitely examples. The examples are here, are not quotes, but then sometimes they do have quotes in it. So it can be either quoted material as well as examples from the text as well. So next would be language, and language is used in here throughout. It's talking about, of course, the title, the character names. It goes here, talks about antagonist, setting, protagonist, so you can see that, as well as using the academic register throughout. So this brainstorm of the supervised writing meets all the criteria of the 4 areas that we're talking about. You decide which way you want to do it, and your brainstorm does not have to look exactly like this at all. It can look differently. You can use bullet points. It's whatever how you want to do it. So it's very organic, whichever you want to do it. If you do an essay, you are still going to have to do the normal paragraphs that you do normally, but it doesn't have to be as clean as this one. This one is clean because it was given time to do it, and it's an actual paper that was written for a class. So it's okay if it doesn't look as clean or as developed as this one, just as long as you get all of your ideas and you get those 4 points in there. So going back to this. So what I want you to do for each of these, I want you to find each of these areas for the essay and for the brainstorm, and I want you to color code it for knowledge and understanding, appreciative writer choices, organization development, language. And if you can find where the person did it in each of these examples, you can kind of really see how to do it on your own. So, and you need to not link onto it from the PowerPoint, but go to the copy that was made to you on Google Classroom. Okay, and lastly, let's talk about your analytical thesis. So your analytical thesis, we talked about last week, or yes, I think last week. And this is the format that I gave you, where you should have the specific noun, like in the Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins, with the active verb, makes a social commentary that the imperialism will lose the democratic human spirit, and then have an assertive predicate by using symbolic names and titles. So here you have the what, the why, and the how. So in class on Tuesday, we were talking about getting an original theme and how to do it. So let me show you exactly how to do an analytical thesis from that. So the what is my In a Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens. The why, it becomes my theme. So demonstrates that true generosity comes from the spirit and not the wallet. And then I go and create the how, which is author's choices and what they do by using techniques of characterization to illustrate the dynamic growth of the main character. This is a formula that will give you an analytical thesis almost every time if you do it correctly. You always put the what, put your theme in as the why, and then create a how in order how they create the theme of it. And I want you to take the theme that you created from last class on Tuesday and create a analytical thesis off of that. And you put that in here. Okay. Once you have done that, the best way to prepare for supervised writing is to practice. So come up with your own prompts, kind of guess at what I'm going to do, and then give yourself 50 minutes and see what you can do in 50 minutes. And it will certainly help. You shouldn't do this so like 10, 15, 20 times, but do it a couple of times so you figure out one, what is a comfortable format? Is it, am I going to write an essay or am I going to do a brainstorm? So find the comfortable, and also it's less anxiety to do it on your own before you get to class on Monday and do it in class for the first time. If you have any questions, just please feel free to email me. I'll answer them as I can, but I am grading reflective statements as well as other assignments. So good luck, and I'll see you guys